First of all, thanks for sitting down with me. I met you a couple months ago in Moncton and we talked about what you're doing now, and it's pretty cool and we're going to get into it a lot, but the only reason you're here is because I want to learn more, because I think it's a unique situation. First of all, what's your name? I'm Matthew Barnaby, you know that, but what's your name?
My name is Remi Doiron, and I founded a public adjusting firm. My background is actually in construction. Just to run through it quickly, my dad was in new home construction for 35 years, so I got into construction. I do have some training in information technology, which is weird because, you know, being a programmer and a contractor is two different things. But I eventually, through construction, got into the world of insurance restoration. And insurance restoration is the unique skill set of repairing homes after they've been damaged. If they've had like a water damage or fire damage, something like that. I've been doing that for about 10 years. And that's essentially my background working, you know, with insurance companies. I'm currently right now transitioning though from the contracting part to the public adjusting part.
What education did you have? I know the restoration and all that, and you're moving to this side because essentially insurance companies want to take our money and never pay it out, right? But what's your education behind it to get to this side?
So in insurance restoration, there is an organization called the ISRC, and to make it short, they basically govern the standards of cleaning and restoration when it comes to fire damage and water damage, because as you can imagine, when you do have a water damage, there's all kinds of intricacies. You can have mold growth, you can have, you know, secondary damage, so it's important to dry it properly and to make sure all the materials affected are removed so that, you know, you're not living in situations where it can get worse and make your health, the health of your family, put you in a dangerous position, right? Same applies for fire and smoke damage. If you have smoke damage, a lot of people don't understand that, but smoke from, you know, protein fires or oil fires can be carcinogenic, and there's the particles are very small. So there's cleaning processes that are required to be done to make sure that if you do go through this disaster situation, that whatever you're moving back into when the home is repaired, that it's going to be safe for your family.
Essentially, when I think of insurance companies, and it's car insurance, it's property insurance, all those things, I look back at a movie that I saw 25 years ago, Erin Brockovich, and it was dumbfounding back then, but essentially I saw in the movie prefaced, she files a claim and automatically it's denied, and then it's denied, and then it's denied, and it took years and years for her to actually win this settlement. A lot of people quit. A lot of people give up, depending on how much money it is. But a lot of people do quit. What's your main thing when you come in and when people contact you? What's your main role in that?
So first thing, like insurance companies, as we all know, they're for-profit companies, right? They're not a charity, so they're there to make revenues for their shareholders. So obviously paying out claim is a negative for them, right? Because that's money out of their pocket. So Erin Brockovich is actually a perfect comparison to what we do. We would be the Erin Brockoviches of the insurance industry, right? Because an insurance company will, by its nature, want to look for denials. They'll want to tell you no once you have a water damage. They'll want to find an excuse not to cover something, because that's money directly on their bottom line, right?
Yeah.
If you have a flood in your basement and they can find some technicality that could get you not paid for your damages, well, that's money that goes directly to their bottom line. They can send that to the shareholders. So I personally believe that it's the same situation as the movie Erin Brockovich, where insurance companies will just deny as much as they can, and then they'll maybe open the pocketbook for the people that fight back. And that's where we come in, because we are a tool that people can use to fight back. Because our team, the team that we build at ClearClaim Adjusters, is basically all ex-insurance professionals. So
we know the ins and outs of the business. You know the wording, the verbiage in these contracts, and what you are entitled to. Because not a lot of people know what they're actually entitled to. No one reads the fine print, ever.
Exactly. So
at least I don't.
Exactly. An important thing, like, here's something that'll blow your mind. Like, an insurance policy is a contract, right? It's a contract between you and your insurance company, and it's a promise to pay at a later date. So here's the thing about contracts. If you're negotiating an employment with a company, like you're an NHL star, right? Or
yes.
Or
star.
Retired star.
Yeah. Yes.
So when you negotiate a contract, it made sense for you to have a lawyer and for the team you're negotiating with to have a lawyer, right?
Yes.
And that applies on a real estate deal. It applies on, hey, you name it. Anytime there's a contract involved.
I said this to you. I said essentially it's like Mitch Marner trying to fight Zdeno Chara. He's got zero chance. It's essentially like if I'm going against a big insurance company, I don't know any of the laws. But you guys know the laws.
Absolutely. Like even deeper than that, an insurance company would be like an NHL team playing against a beer league team, right? That's how lopsided it is, right? Because an NHL team is going to have the nutritionists, it's going to have, the trainers, it's going to have the coaches, it's going to have the money, it's going to have everything on their side. Well,
the beer league has beer.
Yeah, the beer league has beer, right? So people that don't understand hockey wouldn't even understand this, but you know this. The NHL team would have the ability to not even let the beer league team touch the puck. Not even, let's forget scoring goals, let's forget a shot on goal. They would not be able to touch the puck. And that's how dramatic it can be when you have a homeowner that has, a total loss fire dealing with an insurance company. Because to make the comparison, they have the engineers on their side, they have the contractors on their side, they have the accountants on their side, they have all these professionals, the lawyers in their pockets. They make these people's livelihoods, right? So you're going up against a machine that if you're not armed and you don't have someone backing you, you're just dead in the water.
Well, it's also when you have, if it's a full fire and complete loss of the house, and I've seen some of the work that you've worked with, and they're like, no, we'll just patch it up. Well, no, you want it to look exactly the way that it was before. What's the difference between an insurance adjuster and a public adjuster?
So an insurance adjuster works for the insurance company. An adjuster in general, his job is to interpret a policy and determine coverages and then assess its value using professionals that are going to step in, like contractors, engineers. So an adjuster in general does that work. A public adjuster does that for the public. So a person going through a claim can hire a public adjuster like us, like our firm, and essentially have the same advantages that the insurance company has. So the insurance company will still have their own adjuster. It's not replacing the insurance company's adjuster. What you're doing is you're hiring your own adjuster that has all the same knowledge and tools as the insurance company does. And that puts you on a level footing with them. So now you're not negotiating from a disadvantage. You're fighting fire with fire. So if they're telling you something that's essentially potentially not true, maybe it's erroneous, maybe it's on purpose, we don't know, but you have the tools and knowledge to push back and to get the proper settlement.
Insurance companies have to absolutely hate you. They have to hate you.
Honestly, they probably do, and actually they show their cards sometimes, and you could tell sometimes when they're emailing back and forth, they're communicating with you, you can tell that there's this animosity. We don't believe it should be there. We think it's going to go away. The more we inject ourselves in the culture of insurance, the more that's going to go away. We're new to Canada. This concept is newer to Canada. There's very few public adjusters doing this. And I think the more we're getting involved, the more they're respecting our position, the more they're respecting the fact that we're there and allowing us to be part of it without being extra difficult.
In your 10 years in this realm, in this insurance companies and doing restoration and now moving into the next phase, what are some of the trends you see? Because besides losing a person, losing a house is probably the biggest thing. For a lot of people, it's their retirement, but it's also your family. What's the biggest trends you see? Because I'm sure insurance companies are going to try, if the house is worth $700,000, if there's $350,000 in damage, the bottom line is let's give them $75,000. Now, to a very wealthy person, you're able to cover that cost. You're able to get into a new house. But for 90% of people in the world, that's a big thing. And not knowing the fine print, I didn't know that I'm probably entitled to much more than I actually am going to ask for.
Absolutely. Like the majority of people, families out there, they'll own one home, right? They'll have one or two cars. They'll have 2-3 kids, maybe one child. They'll have their animals. And going through a fire, again, like you said, it's probably one of the most traumatizing things, barring a serious physical injury. It's probably one of the most traumatizing things that can happen to you. Again, without putting yourself in their shoes, you can't really understand. When you have a total loss fire, you've lost everything that's in the home. That means like if you have family heirlooms that were handed down to you over generations, those are gone. If you have family photos, now they're digital, but 30 years ago they weren't digital. You could lose things that you'll never be able to replace, for example. Not only that, you're now homeless and you've lost most of your clothes and all your possessions that you need on a daily basis, right? It puts you in a very, very vulnerable position, right? And insurance companies, it allows them to take advantage of you in that state because you're living in alternative accommodations. Many times the insurance company pressured you to take a lesser rental, right? Because they're trying to save money. So they'll erroneously tell you that there's a maximum budget or that you should stay within certain terms, but really you're entitled to the same living conditions that you had, regardless of the cost in most cases. So if the cost is expensive, that's unfortunate for them, but you're supposed to be put in the same position you are. So
it's a business they're running.
Exactly.
And anywhere they can cut costs, it's more money in their pocket at the end of the year.
Exactly. And think about the psychology of this. If they're convincing you to put you in a smaller space, tighter quarters, it's harder to live, it's harder to survive, that puts you in a position where you're essentially going to be, you're so vulnerable that you're probably going to take the first low ball offer or very low offers and not have the wherewithal or
knowledge
the knowledge to fight back and push back, because you're struggling so much mentally, emotionally, financially, that you're just, the check's going to be on the table and you're going to take it.
Okay, this house burns down. What are my steps when I contact you and this painting's gone, these chairs are gone, this is gone? I've filed claims before because of flooding and that, and they're like, well, you need receipts for everything. And I'm like, I bought this 10 years ago. Now, one was a treadmill.
So here's what's cool. If your house burns down, you want our assistance, you hire us, we step into your shoes. We become you as far as negotiate with the insurance company. So one, that alleviates a ton of stress on your family. You don't have to worry about the communication, saying the wrong thing, or dealing with them on a daily basis. Two, we're going to help you throughout the whole process. We're going to show you exactly how you're supposed to present, for example, the contents you lost. Present the receipts. If you do have the receipts, we'll fight back with the insurance company when they try to claim that you're not allowed replacement if you don't have a receipt, because that's not true, right? You could have all kinds of things in your home that were given to you by your parents, that you received as gifts. You may have bought for cash. Again, there's no rule that you have to have proof of everything that you have. So, but they will make you feel that in order for them to save money. Because if you feel guilty about claiming things that you know you had but you can't prove, and you don't put it on your list, well, that's all money in their pocket, right? So that's part of their strategy. So hiring us, it alleviates that problem, because essentially we'll tell you exactly what we need and we'll present it properly to your insurance company. And that's what's powerful about hiring a public adjuster. And that extends also to the building of your home. You won't have to deal with necessarily the contractors and the valuation engineers. We'll step in. We know how these are supposed to be done. Obviously, you'll sign off with the final numbers, but we're going to handle that for you all the way through, even until the last nail is put on your house and you're ready to move back in. So we'll give you the peace of mind to not have to stress about it, because the stress is already hard enough going through a fire.
It's awful. You have kids that might have to go to school and replace backpacks and clothes and all this, and you don't have the money to be able to do it. That's where it comes in. That's where you're going to get that lowball offer. And again, it is a business. I understand it's a business, but it's dealing with people's lives. And essentially, they don't care about people's lives. They want to save on the bottom lines. It's their business. In Canada alone, we've had Kelowna last year, okay? Tragic fires. Jasper, right now, as we speak, massive fires. Toronto, flooding. I just came back from Fort Myers. It's going to be 10 years. Destruction all over the place. When you see stuff like that, and insurance companies come out and say, okay, well, we don't have the money to pay these people. We actually don't have the money to pay these people, and they've been paying our premiums. When things like that happen, how important is a public adjuster?
So the issue with these catastrophic events is not that the insurance company doesn't have the money to pay people, is that they don't have the people to assess the damages. That's the issue. So as we know, in general context, the reason we exist is because insurance companies are already, making lives difficult in regular situations. Now, a catastrophic event where there's, thousands of claims that happen at the same time, that exacerbates the problem, because now not only insurance companies are going to be difficult, they're not going to want to pay, they also don't have the staff to properly address the issues and to go there quickly. So people are literally starving, waiting for someone to even come and assess and confirm that their house is completely destroyed, right? Because insurance companies, that's the first thing they'll say: without proof that your house is destroyed, we're not going to send you any money. Well, what if the adjuster can't show up for 2 weeks, right? So you're waiting 2 weeks and you're struggling, you lost everything. So what do, right? They say, well, save your receipts, but it's a scary thing. You're putting a lot of money on your credit cards, you're racking up debt, and you're just hoping that everything's going to be fine. And I mean, who doesn't have the horror stories of insurance companies being difficult? It's one of those things where everybody has a story. I've noticed that getting into this industry, you sit down around a table talking to people, and listen, I say this to a lot of people, losing money is an embarrassing thing, right? Like if you go to the casino and you win $10,000, everyone's going to know about it, and your dog, right? Because you're excited. If you go to a casino and you lose $10,000.
No one ever loses at a casino. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's going to know, and maybe your wife's not even going to find out until she sees the statement, right? So it's the same thing with an insurance company. When people have a difficult experience or a bad claim, they feel like they lost money, so it affects them to the point where they don't necessarily want to talk about it, so they kind of bottle it up and they hide it. But I noticed that when you sit down around a table with a bunch of normal people and you start talking about insurance and claims, whether it be automobile or property, everyone seems to have a story, like, oh, I remember this happened to me back then, or my uncle had this fire and it was just a huge fight, or like, very few people have a positive experience to say, oh, things were great and I got my money right away and everything was awesome, right? That's what's interesting about this industry. Again, like I said, everyone has a story of an issue, but people don't necessarily openly talk about it because there's no forum to discuss that. There's no place, like if you're going to a house party, you're not just going to bring up that you got shafted on a fire insurance loss, right? You're not going to talk about that with your neighbors because, again, it's an embarrassing thing.
I had my car stolen and I had my golf clubs and my laptop inside. Now, I didn't know. I just thought it was the car insurance company, that they took care of everything. But it's actually my home insurance. So we go through them to file the claim, and it's not really worth it for $6,000, $7,000 after I pay my $1,000, $1,500 deductible to have a claim on there. So I'm out $6,500 only because of something like that. Now, that's very minor in the big scale of things. How many times do these bigger ones end up in court with lawsuits?
So again, well, obviously we see the worst ones. People hire us when they're really in trouble. Some of them do require legal action. We are affiliated with a law firm locally that does all of our work exclusively. And unfortunately, sometimes we do need to move the file forward to legal action. What's cool about our services is that it's all inclusive. So if you sign up with us, we're going to have a frank discussion with you right off the bat. And we're going to tell you, listen, this insurance company is known to be difficult on these types of claims. This is what can happen, right? So we're going to get into an agreement on our contract with you, the homeowner, but it's oftentimes going to include the legal services. So you have the peace of mind knowing that we're going to be with you all the way through the end. And if we're able to negotiate a settlement prior to bringing it legal, good for you. Perfect. Good for everybody. But you have the peace of mind knowing that ClearClaim Adjusters and our legal team will take it all the way to the end to make sure that you're properly paid for what you lost and that you get everything that you're entitled to under the policy that you paid for.
Well, what's the biggest trend that you see? Either it's from the insurance company obviously denying and trying to lowball essentially, and from the client's perspective when you meet them for the first time.
Something that we see that's part of the trend is we're noticing that some of the staff in the insurance company are getting less and less knowledgeable about claims, and it's causing even further issues over and above what we feel is an insurance company maybe not acting properly. They're now being negligent with their staff, not really understanding what they're actually supposed to be adjusting.
I played with the Rangers. We had a lot of negligent staffs, trust me.
So essentially, like, insurance companies are hiring rookies and they're training them on the spot. And I believe it's a tactic because the less knowledge that the claims adjuster has on the claim side, the higher likelihood that the settlement's going to be lower, right? Because a trained veteran adjuster is going to have that conscience and is going to want to tell the client or the insured about what they're entitled to, versus a rookie that's brand new and doesn't understand anything. They're going to train them like robots and say, well, in these situations you do this, you do that, here's your script, right? And then the insured doesn't necessarily get the benefit of an adjuster telling them what they're entitled to. And unfortunately, if you actually go through like the training manuals of adjusters, like the CIP courses that they have to take, it tells you that your specific job is to tell the insured exactly what they're entitled to. All of it. To review the policy, all of it. And they know what you're entitled to, most of them, because they're trained in it. But they don't do that. It's actually a violation of their code of ethics, because their code of ethics is clear that their job is to find coverage. Like, you talk to my adjusters who are on our team, they will tell you, one of the first things you learn, your job is to interpret the policy to the advantage of the insured, not to the advantage of the insurer, right? You're supposed to read the contracts liberally and give the benefit of the doubt to the insured. So even if there's a little bit of confusion or ambiguity, it's supposed to go to the advantage of the insured, not to the advantage of the insurer. Because you do realize that the insurance company writes those contracts,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So imagine how much advantage they have.
Of course.
They're writing the contract. You're not reviewing it with a lawyer.
No.
Right? Because you're buying insurance
With the
thinking about-
expectation, if I need it, I'm going to be taken care of.
Exactly, right? Because they're marketing what it's all about, right? Like you're in great hands.
You're going to disrupt the
and
market.
so-
You're going to piss off a lot of people. I know this.
Absolutely. You can tell that we are. As you can imagine, there's a lot of interaction between our lawyers and their lawyers. Well,
Yeah.
their lawyers are like, they're mad. They're not happy about what's going on because they're not used to getting pushed back in certain
Yeah.
areas. And we're exposing a lot of vulnerabilities. A lot of lawyers in our market anyway, in Atlantic Canada, that were known as like the insurance lawyers that knew everything, we're embarrassing them in court in certain situations because they are not as knowledgeable as they thought they were, because no one's really been pushing back. No one's been pushing back in the realm of property insurance and understanding contracts. So we're amassing case law with our clients, filing motions and applications or lawsuits. We're amassing case law that's it's going to be around forever, and it's going to move the needle in the fairness dispute between the insurance company and homeowners.
Okay, people have to know, where can they get a hold of you? Because there's a lot of people that are going to see this and be like, okay, I'm not doing this by myself. I'm not fighting a big insurance company by myself if something tragically happens to their property. Where can they get a hold of you?
So it's very easy. They can reach us on our website, clearclaim.ca. We have this very simple form to fill out. It's a pop-up that shows up on our website, and you just got to give us a few details on what happened to your property, what was the date that it happened, who's your insurance company, things like that. Just some basic details, contact information. It's absolutely free for us to review your file. We're not going to charge you a cent. We're going to give you our time. If it takes 15 minutes or an hour, we'll go through all the details of what happened to you, and we'll propose you a contract based off what we read, if we're confident in your file. And also the way we charge is important. We're a contingency-based business, so we only charge on the money that we get you, which our clients love us for that. So if you hire us and we believe in your file, you're not going to pay us out of pocket either by hourly, or you're not going to have to give us a check up front.
Okay.
We will charge you based off the money that we can get you. It's a percentage, right? So essentially it's a win-win for you, because if your insurance company's not offering the money anyway, and we think we can get you that increase, that bump, and we just take a cut from it, well, you're not really losing, right? Because it's not costing you anything, and if we're not successful, then we're not charging you for it.
So let's just say I sign my contract with you guys. My house burns down. Do I ever talk to anyone except for you guys, and then you guys handle everything?
And no, that's the absolute best part about hiring us as a public adjuster. We step into your shoes and take over all communications. We let the insurance company know, and their lawyers, please do not contact our client directly.
Okay.
Contact us. We relay the information that's critical to you. We'll have regular meetings with our client, ask them what they need to make decisions, basically through us, right? So again, we spoke about this earlier. There's a huge amount of stress for some people that they take on when they have a claim, because the worry they have about just managing their family situation along with the financial loss that they're dealing with. So it's a massive advantage to hire someone like us to be able to step into your shoes and negotiate on your behalf. It's not just about the financial advantage of getting the maximum value of your claim. It's also about keeping your sanity.
Your sanity.
Improving your mental health and allowing you to not worry about that and going to your kids' soccer practice and going to your daughter's dance recital and worrying about that. Or making sure they can go to school and making sure that they have what they need. You need to worry about that. It almost becomes a full-time job trying to manage a claim while you're also trying to manage your family, which is, as we all know, it's hard enough. Like you have a blended family, you know what it's like, right? So it's difficult enough. So throw that wrench in there where you lose all of your belongings, you lose your house. I mean, it's just a total nightmare.
I can't imagine. And people go through it every single day. Essentially, you become a number to an insurance company. That's what it is. Their business is to save as much money as they can and make as much money as they can. They become immune to people losing houses and properties and belongings.
So think about this. Insurance companies, how do they make their revenue? It's basically on premiums. We pay them, right? We pay them yearly or monthly for our policies. That's how they make money. But when you think about the insurance market as a whole, it's fully saturated. Almost every property for North America, for example, has insurance, barring the small few. Every automobile is legislated. You need to have insurance. You can't drive without insurance, right? So if you're an insurance company, you're a bean counter.
You can't even rent without insurance.
Exactly.
You need to prove your insurance.
So if you're an insurance company, you're a business, right? You want to make more money. What can you do? Well, you're going to fight for market share. There's not novel business you can go get. You need to go take the business away from someone else, right? So that's the only way you can do it. You have to take it away from someone else. So you're going to essentially take over a market, be cheaper on your rates or whatever the case may be, but that doesn't necessarily increase profits if you're cheaper on your rates, right?
Yes.
If a certain insurance market is taken by somebody else and you're going to go do it cheaper.
Well, you're going to take it cheaper and then you're going to raise it the next year and the year after that and the year after that.
Right. But what do you think would be the easiest way, if you're the accountants here at a big insurance firm, what's the easiest way to make more money for your shareholders?
I would say deny more claims and just try to get out of the settlement as cheap as you can.
And you hit the nail right on the head, because it's a lot easier for them, and I think they've realized this. You were asking about trends earlier, and we're seeing this trend the last 10 years, them becoming more difficult and wanting to pay less, being less fair. I think that's this one of the reasons, because an easy way to increase profits if you're an insurance company is to deny claims.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because that's their only, barring marketing and their salaries, that's their biggest expense, is the claim side, right? It's the money going back out. If you can keep that money in your account, not only that, they invest the money that they get in premiums, right? So sometimes you wonder, you're going through a claim and you maybe we're not involved and you're just waiting for the check and you're thinking like, how difficult is it to write a check? Why am I waiting? Why is this going on months? Jester said I was going to get paid. You know what? Because it's to their advantage to keep that money in their investment accounts, because they're making money monthly on that investment, right? The second they have to pay it to you, they stop making money on that amount. So that's another.
And it's not only on one
reason.
person. This is on hundreds and could be thousands.
Absolutely.
Let's times it by 300,000 just for a round number. 1,000 people that something might have happened to them, they keep that in for 6 months. Well, now they've just cut down their bottom line again.
Absolutely. So listen, deny claims and don't have to pay it, right? Delay claims, they make money on the interest they're making while they're waiting to pay you out. Underpay claims, right? Lowball offers to desperate people, right? Because that's unfortunately what they do.
Absolutely. If you're vulnerable, you need money to live.
Absolutely.
You need a place to stay. All the fine print and trying to get out of it as easy as possible.
Absolutely.
I've negotiated contracts. I've tried to negotiate on my own behalf, and you think you know, but you're going against lawyers. You're going against people that are armored. Like, it's not only me against the GM. I'm going against a whole team of capologists and knowing the market and knowing that I'm going against an owner that might be worth $3 billion, and I'm just trying to negotiate a contract to take care of my family.
Yeah, and some of the losses, like you can lose a home to a fire, it can be well north of $1 million. Of
course,
way more than that, right? So it's a little bit insane to me to think about that situation, that contract potential dispute would not automatically be like, hey, I need representation on my side, right? I need a lawyer on my side. However, we're experts in what we do. So hiring a lawyer, with all due respect to lawyers, there's some great ones out there. They don't understand the policies like we do because we're experts in the policies. So it's essentially hiring us is like hiring a lawyer. But to me, going up against an insurance company alone, again, like you said, an NHL veteran, you negotiate all kinds of contracts. You never would have gone to that table alone without having a lawyer understand and read your contract and negotiate for you, right? But people literally go up against claims where they've lost everything. They're vulnerable. They're scared. Their family's struggling. Their emotional health, their mental health is struggling.
Just like,
and they're exactly. They see this and they're like, this is gold, right? Because we have you backed into a corner. So here's your low ball offer. You know, take it, we'll close the books. It looks good for us. My managers are happy. I underpaid this claim. And the homeowner is sitting there thinking, well, you know, what else am I to do? All right, because I don't have anything else. I depleted my savings, or I have no savings. What else am I to do? I need to move on, right?
So a lot of times if you file a claim, you do it yourself. They're going to get their own people to come in and assess it, give it a valuation. When you guys go, I'm sure they have their people, you have your people, and you kind of try to find a middle ground.
That's exactly what we do. So they have their own people, like you said, but we have our own people that we trust and that we know is going to give proper valuations. And that's exactly what we do. We'll go up against them toe-to-toe with our own experts. We'll have our own engineers. We'll have our own hygienists. And we'll counter their opinions to make sure that we get the best possible settlement. But also to return your house to a fully sanitized and safe condition. Because a lot of our disputes happen with, you know, how aggressive does a property need to be cleaned or remediated, right? And our main concern is to make sure that your family's safe when you move back in. And again...
Well, I saw the one house. It was a fire. And there was smoke all through the house. You could see it in the walls. It was an older man, I believe an older couple, but it was an older man that really couldn't see it until you guys came in and be like, no, this is ridiculous. Like the damage inside just to clean and paint was $90,000 because you need special tools to be able to do it.
Absolutely. So this is a couple that lives outside of Halifax, and they were impacted by the fires of 2023 in the Halifax area. And they had smoke come in through their windows, through their HVAC system, and they didn't realize how bad it was. But when I saw it, I could see like smoke webs all over the place. There was smoke stains on the walls. So right away we said, listen, you're going to need our help. We need to present this to the insurance company. And we thought it was going to be easy because like I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
I've been in restoration as I explained earlier. And I've never seen a fight at that level, right? So you're asking about trends earlier?
Yeah.
It was so clear to me that I thought right away the adjuster was going to look at the pictures and be like, yeah, we're covering this. We're going to go clean.
It's impossible after seeing the pictures, and maybe we can actually put these pictures on the website or on this video so people can see what they try to get away with.
Absolutely. And the first thing they did is that, we don't believe that smoke. We don't want to cover that. I was emailing adamantly back and forth with the claims manager. I was saying, this is a dangerous situation. Like they're inhaling this every single day. And, people don't realize, but smoke from a bonfire is not as dangerous, right? Because the carbon from wood, it's not filled with chemical byproducts, things like that. But when you have a wildfire, what burns through a wildfire? It's not just the forest. It's people's sheds that have all kinds of pollutants in there, chemicals, oils, lead, asbestos, all that stuff, that all contaminates your home, right? So it becomes a very dangerous situation. And we were adamant, like, you guys need to do something about it. Anyway, eventually, we hired our own hygienist that came in, did some testing on that smoke. We had to send it out to labs. They didn't accept the pictures, which they should have. Sent it out to labs. Labs confirmed that this was smoke and that it was dangerous. And then maybe 2 weeks later, decide, okay, we're going to play ball here. How much is this claim worth? And they actually finally came to the table, wanted to settle. But it took like 4 months, and that actually blew my mind that it took 4 months to do this. Because like I said, my experience as a restoration contractor, like I've never seen an adjuster look at pictures like that
and back it up.
And push back and say, I don't think this is smoke, because it couldn't have been clearer to me.
I'm a hockey player. I saw the pictures. It clear to me. Pretty ridiculous. I needed you when I fought Chara, by the way. It would have been maybe a little bit better if I had you guys probably just telling me not to fight him. That would have been probably the best part of the whole thing. But certainly, if I ever need it, I'm going to be using you. I can promise you that.
Yeah, we'll be there for you. So right now, we're currently serving Atlantic Canada and Ontario, and we're quickly going to be expanding across Canada.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks.
Contact them. If you need them, contact them. It'll be the best thing you ever do.